Greetings nerdlings and welcome to AmalgamNation presents World of Lorecraft, Racecraft, Old Gods Edition. The Old Gods are chaotic physical manifestations of the void. They are nightmares incarnate, mountains of blighted flesh and writhing tentacles that grow like cancers within the worlds of the Great Dark. They live only to transform the worlds they infest into places of despair and death, serving the Void Lords. Composed of pure shadow energy, the Void Lords are monstrous entities. These beings are cruel and merciless beyond mortal comprehension. Driven by an insatiable hunger, the Void Lords seek to devour all matter and energy in the physical universe, including the energy of the Old Gods, if they have any. Old Gods background. Before life even began, before even the cosmos took shape, there was light and void, in the form of a boundless prismatic sea. The light swelled across all existence. The ocean of light was dynamic and ever-shifting, yet as it expanded, some of its energies faded and dimmed, leaving behind pockets of cold nothingness. From the absence of light in these spaces, a new power coalesced and came to be. This power was the Void, a dark and vampiric force driven to devour all energy, to twist creation inward, to feed upon itself. The Void quickly grew and spread its influence, moving against the waves of light. The mounting tension between these two opposing yet inseparable energies eventually ignited a series of catastrophic explosions, rupturing the fabric of creation and birthing a new realm into existence. In that moment, the physical universe was born. The energies released by the clash of light and void raged across the nascent cosmos, raw matter emerging and spinning into primordial worlds without number. The birth of the Old Gods. From the moment the cosmos came to be, dark spirits within the void sought to twist reality into a realm of eternal torment. These entities were known as the Void Lords, and they had long watched the Pantheon and their journey from world to world. Envious of their power, the Void Lords sought to corrupt one of the world-shaping titans into an instrument of their will. To achieve this goal, the Void Lords struggled to manifest in the physical universe. Eventually, the Void Lords moved to exert their influence over a titan in its most vulnerable state, before it had awakened. The Void Lords did not know which worlds contained slumbering titan spirits, thus they pulled their power and hurled dark creatures throughout the universe, hoping some would smash into a world soul. An unknown number of the Void Lords' creations hurtled through the Great Dark. They contaminated mortal world and everything they touched in their blind search for a nascent titan. In time, these wicked beings would come to be known as the Old Gods. The coming of the Old Gods to Azeroth. In an isolated corner of the Great Dark, a miraculous new world was taking shape. Deep within this world's core, the spirit of a mighty and noble titan stirred to life. One day it would be known as Azeroth. A group of old gods plumed down from the Great Dark and slammed into Azeroth's surface, embedding themselves in different locations across the world. These old gods towered over the land, mountains of flesh pockmarked with hundreds of gnashing maws and black unfeeling eyes. A miasma of despair soon enveloped everything that lay in their writhing shadows. The discovery of Azeroth. During his long and lonely journeys, the titan known as Agramar sensed something extraordinary. The tranquil dreams of a slumbering world soul billowing across the cosmos. The song of life led him to a world that the Pantheon had not yet discovered, a world they would later name Azeroth. Nestled within the world's core was one of Agramar's kin, one far more powerful than any yet encountered. The spirit was so mighty that Agramar sensed its dreams, even through the din of activity that rattled across the world's surface. Yet as Agramar drew closer to Azeroth and beheld the world, horror seized him. Void energy shrouded the world's surface like a layer of diseased flesh. From the ruined landscape rose the old gods and their black empire. Miraculously, the nascent titan's spirit remained uncorrupted, but Agramar knew it was only a matter of time before it succumbed to the void. Agramar sought the council with the rest of the Pantheon, informing them of his discovery. Agramar urged the other titans to take action with all due haste, before Azeroth was lost forever. Azeroth was one of them, a lost and vulnerable member of their family. The Pantheon could not abandon their own sibling to the clutches of the Void Lords, and they unanimously agreed to save Azeroth, no matter the cost. Agramar formulated a bold plan of attack. All members of the Pantheon would travel to Azeroth and purge the Black Empire that had claimed it. They would not, however, take action directly. Due to their colossal forms, Agramar feared the Pantheon would irreparably damage or even kill the World Soul. Instead, he proposed creating mighty constructs to act as the Pantheon's hands and prosecute their will against the Black Empire. Under the guidance of the great forger Khaz'goroth, the Pantheon crafted an army of enormous servants from the crust of Azeroth itself, the Aesir and the Vanir. The Aesir were fashioned from metal, and they would command the powers of storm. The Vanir were formed from stone, and they would hold sway over the earth. Collectively, these mighty creatures would be known as the Titanforged. The members of the Pantheon imbued a number of their servants with their specific likeness and powers to lead the rest of the Titanforged. These empowered beings were called Keepers. Though they would develop their own personalities in time, they would forever after bear the mark and abilities of their makers. Aman'Tul gifted some of his vast abilities to High Keeper Ra and Keeper Odin. Khaz'goroth bestowed his mastery over the art and forging to Keeper Arcadus. Golgonets granted Keepers Thorim and Hodir dominion over the storms and skies. Aenar gave Keeper Freya command over Azeroth's flora and fauna. Norgannon lent a portion of his intellect and mastery of magic to Keepers Loken and Mimiron. Lastly, Agramar imparted his strength and courage to Keeper Tyr, who would become the greatest warrior of the Titanforged. With this new army moulded from the world's crust, the Pantheon went to war. The time to shatter the Black Empire and free Azeroth from its malign influence had come. The fall of the Black Empire. As one, the Keepers turned their righteous gaze on the heart of the Black Empire, the sprawling city built around the old god Y'Shaarj. Can't pronounce that, but I'm pronouncing Y'Shaarj. By toppling the bastion on Azeroth, the Keepers believed they could crush their enemies in one swift stroke. The Keepers and their allies battled their way toward the mountainous form of Y'Shaarj, who was more powerful than the Keepers expected. It poisoned the minds of the Titanforged, drawing out their fears and darkening their thoughts. The Pantheon grew concerned that the old god would overwhelm their servants. Despite the risk of harming the world, they decided to take direct action. Aman'Tul himself reached down through Azeroth's stormy skies and took hold of Y'Shaarj's writhing body. With a heave of his mighty arm, he tore the old god from the crust of the world. In that moment, Y'Shaarj's bulk was ripped apart. The immensity of the old god's death rattle shattered the mountain tops and obliterated hundreds of Titanforged where they stood. Y'Shaarj was dead, but its tendrils had bored more deeply through Azeroth than Aman'Tul had ever imagined. In excising the old gods from the world, he had ripped a wound in Azeroth's surface. Volatile arcane energies, the lifeblood of the nascent Titan, erupted from the scar and roiled out across the world. Horrified by this turn of events, the Pantheon realized they could not risk killing the other old gods in such a manner. The malignant creatures had embedded themselves so deep into the world that tearing them out would destroy Azeroth itself. The Pantheon knew that the only course of action was to imprison the old gods where they lay and contain their evil forever. It would be a difficult task, but it would be possible with the aid of the Keepers. At the Pantheon's behest, the Titanforged devised a plan to shatter the last vestiges of the Black Empire. They would battle each of the old gods directly. Once they had weakened the creatures, Arcadus would create a subterranean chamber to contain them. Mimiron would then fashion colossal machineries to lock the old gods in place. When this work was done, Loken would imbue each prison with a great enchantment that would neutralize the old god's evil. The Flesh's Curse. Yogg-Saron had devised a plan to weaken its jailers and escape imprisonment. It would corrupt the Forge of Wills, tainting its creation matrix with a strange malady known as the Curse of Flesh. Any Titanforged created by the machine thereafter would fall victim to this affliction. Some would even spread it to previous generations of the Titanforged. The curse of flesh would gradually transform many of these infected servants into mortal beings of flesh and blood, beings who the cunning old god knew could easily be killed. To implement this plan, Yogg-Saron turned to the keeper Loken. Out of Ulduar's guardians, Loken had been the most troubled by the Pantheon's silence. Yogg-Saron assailed the keeper through fevered dreams, stoking the fires of his despair. Yet even in his disturbed state, Loken resisted the whisperings in his mind. Ultimately, his downfall would come from a much subtler place. As Loken drifted deeper and deeper into despair, he sought comfort from Sif, the mate of his brother, Keeper Thorin. Loken often met with Sif in private, telling her of his darkest fears. In time, a forbidden love blossomed between the two Titanforged. Yogg-Saron latched onto Loken's love for Sif and twisted it into a dangerous obsession. The relationship quickly soured due to Loken's behaviour. Ultimately, she broke all ties with Loken, demanding that he leave her in peace. The thought of losing Sif drove Loken to madness. In a fit of anger and jealousy, he lashed out at his love and killed her. Much to Loken's surprise, the visage of Sif forgave him. She also warned him of the need to act with haste, lest Thorin learn the truth. If he did, the Titan Forged would descend into civil war, and every pledge Loken had made to the Pantheon would be broken. She convinced him to build an army of his own using the Forge of Wills, one large enough to protect Ulduar from the depredations of the giants. Eventually, Loken noticed something unsettling among his warriors. A dark affliction suffused their spirits. Loken called out to Sif again for advice, but this time she remained silent. Dread overtook the Keeper as he realized that her spirit had not existed at all. She was an illusion created by Yogg-Saron. Characteristics of the Old Gods. The Old Gods are characterized as the sleeping evil beneath the earth, whose telepathic whispers eventually become indistinguishable from one's own maddened thoughts. Beyond the things attributed to the Old Gods as a whole, individual Old Gods share some common factors between them. Both Khatun and Yogg-Saron are fought with a section of their bodies sticking out of the ground in the centre of a room, with an unknown amount of their forms remaining invisible below. They both appear to have countless tentacles below ground, which can come to the surface to aid in combat. The battles with both Old Gods call for damage to be done to something within each Old God's submerged form to weaken or remove a shield, killing a flesh tentacle in the stomach of Khatun and weakening the brain of Yogg-Saron in the mind's eye, which may or may not represent physical places within the two gods. The servants of Khatun and Yogg-Saron, the Karaji and Faceless Ones respectively, are similar in a few ways. Faceless Ones have similar posture and shape to Karaji gladiators, which may be due to recycling wire frames to some extent. Also, both groups have a general with vaguely similar names, General Rajax and General Vezax, and a religious leader, the Prophet Scarum and Herald Volage. Harbinger Skyrus too, but his affiliation is unknown. Okay, so I think that's enough about the Old Gods. I will, however, say that I have not read all of the lore. There's a section called Old Gods and Twilight Worship, which I found interesting, but I don't want to go into. If you want to know more about it, please Google it and look it up, because I believe that this would give spoilers for the game. So if you're somebody who has not played the game before or does not know much about the lore, this would spoil some of that for you. And my goal with these vids is not to give big spoilers for things that you can experience and find out in-game, but to tell you things that aren't necessarily easy to find out in-game. Thank you for watching, and as always, remember, play to game and game to play.